Done. Okay, sorry, what's yours?
So my question is,
Yes.
this one is consequences management issues and which. So when I will fill out this one, word-based assessment, so this is the case study it is given in here.
Yes.
This is the case study.
Yes,
ABC
yes.
fact sheet D.
On fact sheet D, and
yeah.
it's for assessment
Yeah, yeah,
5.1, so it's for that.
Now
And
that's
you're
the-
not actually doing 6.1.
Yeah, that's the reason I get confused.
Ah, yes, yes.
It is a mistake in here.
No, that's not a mistake.
Oh, so I'm not doing that one.
If we were doing module 6, they would also get fact sheet D, because these facts here are the two modules.
ABC fact sheet is common to all.
No. This is fact sheet D.
No. Fact sheet D. Fact sheet D will use it.
So the fact sheet, sometimes you have two fact sheets for one module because there may be complex things.
John, one more question.
Yes, sure.
So my assessment is based on this case study. Is it correct?
Yes, that fact sheet.
Yeah. Is it correct?
Yes. Yes. Because that is fact sheet D, and it's for 5.1. That's 5.1, and that's module 5. Yes.
So we need to fill up this one.
Yeah, yours actually, that was the copy that I stuck up, and Mitt has given you a smaller print because there's no A. That's the same thing that you throw that away.
Yeah, you don't need it.
You don't need that because it's the same as that. It's exactly the same.
Okay. But what about this one?
It's the same as that. Here it is here.
Oh, okay. So I can.
Everything will be there, right? All this copy.
And all of the files are in the email. Okay, so we're still talking about, what are we talking about? Fact sheets? Oh, we moved on from fact sheets. We got on to,
Multi-choice.
Multiple
we got
choice.
to the multi-choice. And then you've either got this or that or both. Because these cut across all units. All 14 units are done in these two. So when you're doing it, just keep in mind that you may not have to do all of it. You can just look at part 2 and 3, or part 4, or whatever.
Yeah, unless you're doing all 3 units, then you have to do it.
Well, probably still not, no. Because if you're doing all 3 units, for the KLM, you'd do parts 2, 3, and 4. You don't need to do part 5, you don't need to do part 1. And the same with the workplace, because then you'd be doing the 14 units. And that's not required. And if you want to do all 14 units, then you can get a discount and do the whole course. You can enroll.
How much the course?
The course is $1,200. And if you did 1 unit or 2 or 3, you would get a discount on it because you'd get credit transfer. You may even get more credit transfer because these are all BSB units and PSP and MSS units. You may have already done them in some other diploma or certificate for, and instead of the 14 units, you may only have to do 8 units, in which case you'd be paying $800 or $900 instead of $1,200 if you wanted to do it. So, having done all of that, you then have an evaluation checklist. Now this is a compulsory thing where you put the reviewer's name, you put your BSB assessment unit that you're looking at. This is version 1 and August this year. There's a lot of questions in here and you'll notice that like the first one, for example, unit of competency analysed. Now you may not know, well, did John analyse the unit? He created this stuff, but did he analyse it? Yes or no? Don't know. That's why I've given you this document. This is the sort of stuff you would find in a training and assessment strategy. Does anyone here use a training and assessment strategy?
Only if needed.
Ask the auditors, think every trainer and assessor has a copy of the training and assessment strategy and they read it the day before they come and do
It's fresh in their mind. So it's fresh in their mind. So when they ask questions, they know what to answer.
But the sort of information that you find in here, like target group identified, well, it's probably in here if I copied all the right pieces across. But anyway, So if you're wondering, did I actually address the target group? Hopefully you put yes because you found it in here. So that's why you've got that. Again, this is reference material. It's the sort of thing that RTOs have, sits in the shelf. Trainer assessors probably never look at a training and assessment document. They get their course materials and go, yep, I know what all this is, and I go and do it. That's about it. So that's all the bits and pieces that you have. While you're looking at the assessments, you will see references to both ISO and ASQA. And the same with the multi-choice. Even though the multi-choice is based on this, this, or this, it's geared towards ISO and standards. And when you read the fact sheets and you have to list whatever issues or problems there are, you'll probably see that in the fact sheet you'll recognise problems. And those problems are based again on either ISO, or you can just stick to ASQA and say, well, I know ASQA very well, and I know what that trainer just did is wrong, so I'll write that down.
So how much time will we get to finish this?
Okay, so today all I'm doing is introducing it. I mean, if someone wanted to stay here, I can stay here. And, you can even work on something. You can read a fact sheet and then look at one of the first assessment to see what you think about it. And I can sit here and work with you. That's fine. Otherwise, you take these away and you look at them during the week. We meet again next week, 3:30. We have a second session. And by then, as a minimum, you should have read the fact sheet. You should have looked at the assessment, to see how the how does that assessment fit in with the fact sheet? Can you find the answers in the fact sheet? You may actually want to fill it in just to make sure you can. And look at the multi-choice. The multi-choice questions tend to be a bit of a backup. All of these units being BSB ones, BSB tends to say if there is nothing said, then assume it's once. If a specific volume of frequency is not stated, then evidence must be provided at least once. ASQA hates that. I think BSB did it because they hate ASQA anyway, and ASQA hates them. It's all just like that. So ASQA's got a big thing about what is the volume of the frequency of evidence that they have to do. You must state it. And they've come heavy on that again, this year in particular. When they read a training and assessment strategy, they want to see, do they have to show it 3 times, 2 times, 1 time, what time, what? And they don't like it if you say once. But you can, because BSB units all say at least once. You can get away with it even though ASQA's not happy. Anyway, so the multi-choice, you may look at it and go, well, this is an overkill. You only have to do it once. You've already done it in the assessments. Why do they have to do more? You can make that statement. I'm quite happy with that. But the multi-choice also covers everything off again, just in case there was something missing. So, there, you do that during the week. Whether you spend an hour doing it, or you spend 2 hours, or you spend 5 hours, that's up to you. And you might get all excited and want to look at the other materials and do a second unit or a third one. Get it all done together. At a minimum, you would come back here next week and you would have completed this, which is just a tick box. But do it all by hand. Don't get the electronic one and type it all up and all that.
Yes,
just put a yes, 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 of course. Maybe put a couple of comments, because people who just go tick, 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 there's always that thing, do not tick and flick. I think that's supposed to be some sort of phonetic thing that makes you feel like you're not allowed to do that. You're supposed to actually write a comment. I think it's in your materials too, isn't it? Don't tick and flick. Is it? It's in a lot of materials because ASQA doesn't like tick boxes. They do it themselves, of course. When you look at the audit that they do, it's always tick, and then they make a comment where they go no, then they put a comment.
They're hypocrite.
So it's always a case of, if you say no, you don't think it was whatever you think it is, easy and practical to use, and you think, well, no, it wasn't, I was confused because they're all holistically grouped and I hate holistically grouped, so I'm going to say no, and then you put a reason.
So basically, if you put no, there has to be some comment.
There has to be a comment if there's a no. But it doesn't have to be if there's a yes. If you do all yeses, it's probably a good idea to go back and just put 2 comments somewhere to make it look like you didn't just tick and click. You actually thought about it. So as a minimum, you'd come back next week with that done with your name and for the unit. We would then have a talk fest about it, what you thought was good, what you thought was bad, and we'll go through them one at a time. So we'll pick on, probably start with Unit 1, I suppose, Module 1, and we'll go through Others can join in, because maybe they looked at it, or maybe they disagreed with something that was said. And then we move on to the second one and the third one. That's why next week will be about an hour, and my testing here today is to just make sure that this is working, so I can keep that as a record. Now after that, after next week, you're all done, unless you want to submit the assessments and you want me to assess them, in which case I'll do that, get back to you with the good, the bad, and the ugly, and hopefully you get a statement of attainment.
So for a statement of attainment, we have to do the assessment.
Yes, you must do it. And the good thing about that, getting a statement of attainment is part of professional development. So, and adding a unit from the business package, because you all work in business courses. So,
will we get 1 month to complete the assessment after next week?
I didn't think about it. I would think you wouldn't need more than a month to do 1 unit. That would be fine. If you're doing 3, if you want to do 3 years, you take 3 months. That's fine.
3 months will be 2 months.
We give the students 12 months, of course, to do 14 units or to do all of that. So it's a lot more than what you'd be doing. It's 12 months. So a month per unit is probably fine. Yeah.
Month and a half for all 3.
3 months. Don't confuse me.
No, 3 months is too much.
We just said a month per unit. Did we agree on a month per unit?
No, if
No,
you say
it's
1 per unit, they'll take 2 months for 1.
It's self-paced. You know, some students do all this and they do it in less than 3 months, the whole lot. The record is 9 weeks, I think.
Like how I did it.
Yes. Actually, June has already passed. That's 12 months now. You're overdue. Okay, so don't be like Amit. Get it done on time. You'll find that I'm flexible anyway. Anyone who wants to get a unit, that's fine. I'm happy
So
with
this
that.
is the assessment. This one, this is the actual, just do this one.
Sorry?
This is the assessment one for this, or
I'm not-
case study assessment.
Yeah. Your one is the same as this one. So you've got assessment 1.1 and 1.2. So there are 2.
This is 1.2.
No. KLM assessment instruments are here. So you've got 1.1 and 1.2.
Two.
You've got it broken into 2. The other ones have 1. So you've got 5.1, 4.1.
So John, if someone has
Then you've got
questions-
the KLM. But I don't think you have the WPA, do you? Do you have the WPA in yours? Probably not. You don't. Whereas the others, they only have 1 assessment here, but they may have the WPA as well as the KLM. But they don't have to do all of it, they just do the parts that are relevant.
But see, workplace assessment, I can be the assessor for workplace. If they want to,
Yes.
and I can help them. But what I'm trying to say is not help as in give answers. I can be the workplace assessor.
Yeah, but what you're talking about, Amit, you're talking about 1 assessment
Yeah,
instrument here,
right.
which probably covers 7 units, but doesn't cover all of the parts of the units.
That's right.
So to actually, for you to be the assessor, that would only make sense if someone was doing the whole course.
Oh, fine.
But if they're just doing aspects of this because they're doing one of these units, it's probably better they send it to me.
Okay, fine.
All right. And if you do it by hand, you can always scan it and just send it.
So they're supposed to email you at your work email address, right? You have,
Yes, yeah, and everyone's got that.
I'm asking some stupid questions just to throw some more light.
Yes, well, yeah, that makes me think about it too.
Okay, so if people who want to stay back can stay back.
Yes,
And work.
yeah. Otherwise, I've done everything, I was
Yeah.
intending to do today. I just want you to go home and know, oh, this is what I have to do for next week, for the workshop, and it's up to you how much you do. If you want to do the minimum, don't bother reading the modules, only reference the modules when you're looking at the assessment. If you don't understand part of the assessment, you may have to go back to the module. The fact sheets are extremely important because the fact sheets are what make it the RTO stream. So KLM is an RTO. The workplace obviously is an RTO. And all the fact sheets and the assessments here are all to do with the ABC RTO.
And if you have any questions at any time, 24/7 you are available. You can
Yes.
call you 12 o'clock at night and ask, John,
Yes.
question number 9.
Yes,
Dr.
and then
Watt."
I'll get the voicemail at 9 o'clock the next day. Yes.
John, one thing just to double check. So we started with this one first, right? So
Yes.
this one.
Yes.
So for example, we have written there.
Yes.
Then the same thing we have got here.
So John, we can leave here.
Yeah, don't worry about this. That's duplicated. You've got
A
that.
duplicate, yeah. So
Oh, have you got
Yeah.
your name on this one? Can I get that?
so
I need you to,
Yeah.
Tina, I don't think you filled out, can you fill out your, do you work in any other places except here? No, you're full-time here, so, all right, just put your name here, because then I'll know, same as Amit. And where's the other one that I have? Oh, this one, yes. Oh, sorry. Can I just get you, now if you had, do you work here full-time or do you do? Oh, okay, so you'll be the same, but Australian International School, good. I just want a variety.
set it up.
So just put your name there and then put
So you
ABCR.
can.
Ah, good, okay. You don't need to put all the details, ABTR is fine, because I'll just copy Amit's one and just change the name. Can you put your family name? Oh, that's in there. All right, so we know, what unit have you got? BSB 403 and
I've got BSB 402. Sorry.
your,
No,
no, that's,
we are together.
yes, it's 402.
402.
402, good. Okay. I forgot to mention in the multi-choice, there is an answer sheet at the back.
Why that's separate edition?
Where you circle it. So, you've got that in, good, fantastic. That's everybody, isn't it? I wanted you. No, I've already got you here. And you're doing 403.
I've done that. I've already done it.
Yes. Yeah, you already did 403.
Well, there's 3 people.
But you're helping Tina. Yeah. So you can work collaboratively, obviously.
My recommendation is to do all 3 units, so we can get statement of attainment from GS. And if you want to do certificate 4, you can do and you can get more credits.
Yeah, 1200 is already a discount, but credit transfer means you can get a bigger discount.
But my recommendation is to do 3 units because they're offering, so we make most of it.
Oh,
and we
what's
do
this
all
doing
3.
here? Module 1. Missing from somebody? Did someone not get this?
I think I don't get it.
And John, wanted to ask you, after
I
next
don't get
week,
it.
Oh, wait a minute, no, yours is not module 1, yours is module 1. No, you're module 1. Did someone not get this?
Module 1,
Did it fall?
multi-choice question.
I think I was next.
GRC will
I
come.
don't know. I just found it over there.
Another
Yeah, we have multi-choice question.
I did. Okay, so I don't need this.
So,
It's not module one.
John, another question. After next week,
Yes.
when they are actually working on a specimen, and if they need help, will you come here
Yeah.
after next week?
Yeah, we can have a workshop if you like, that's fine.
So we can decide on a day when you come and you can get all of them together, and they can ask questions to you.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
So basically how John operates is he comes to your workplace, he's a workplace assessor as well. So he will come to your workplace and will do answers. Alright?
Where's that coffee you were supposed to get for me?
Which coffee?
30 when I arrived.
He said, who said it?
I thought we agreed that you'd have a coffee for me.
You did not remind me. So it's not. It's null and void.
Right.
We'll go for coffee now.
Oh, I forgot to mention this, didn't I? There is a user guide there'll be parts in there which will refer to, ask for things. This is kind of the Bible for the
But I don't like the girls.
the the November 2017 version, where they mix it all up and pretend it's different, and they're doing a good job.
It has to be a boy photo as well. How come only girls are there? It's like a
Discrimination.
I've never
advertisement
looked at it
billboard.
and wanted a boy there, but I can understand you might want a boy there.
Why not? It is a free country. I know what you're getting at.
So, are we all done, or are we?
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, good. All right, and then I'll make sure this is all working, and then I'll delete it.